Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It's the kind of catastrophic turn of events that has the power to destroy a whole family and completely upend the Newman legacy. After months of turmoil in Genoa City, the peace appeared to have returned, but an accident has ruthlessly torn it apart, leaving Claire Grace fighting for her life. Victoria Newman stands still, her world whirling out of control, while medical professionals race to save her. The realization that Victoria is pregnant strikes precisely when she believes there is nothing else that could possibly upset her. Everything she believed to be true about herself, her family, and the daughter she had just rediscovered is in danger of being altered by this revelation, which is both wonderful and terrifying in its timeliness. Both literally and emotionally, it all starts with a storm. Torn between her complex feelings for Holden Novak and the crushing guilt she still carried from her past, Claire had been restless for days. Although she had assured herself that everything would be all right and that she could move on, the delicate tranquility she had created was disintegrating. Claire raced out of the Abbott mansion, tears clouding her eyes as she leaped into her car following a heated disagreement about her future with Holden. She wanted distance, anything to calm the mental turmoil. But fate, as in soap operas, had other ideas. A few moments later, Genoa City would be rocked by a crash that reverberated through the night, a blinding flash of headlights, and the screech of tires. Victoria and Cole were the first to get to the hospital when word got out that Claire's automobile had been discovered mangled by the side of the road. Even Victor Newman's renowned poise was shattered upon seeing their daughter on a stretcher, unconscious, injured, and linked to machines. Victoria fell into Cole's arms as her thoughts raced through all the time she had come dangerously close to losing Claire. As Dr. Elena Dawson informed the family that Claire had serious internal injuries, and that her status was severe, the noises of terror and sadness filled the hospital hallways. There were no assurances despite their best efforts. Holden Novak, meanwhile, had vanished from sight. He had reportedly been spotted close to the disaster site earlier, and rumors that the tragedy might not have been as random as it appeared started to circulate. Even though Victoria was in shock, she didn't think Holden would ever purposefully harm Claire, but she couldn't deny the nagging discomfort in her stomach. Before the crash, what had been causing them to argue? Why had Claire driven so carelessly? Could all of this be related to Holden's reclusive actions in the days preceding the tragedy? Victoria hardly left Claire's bedside as the hours turned into days. Every time she saw the young woman lying still under the harsh fluorescent lights, her heart ached. This isn't how it was meant to be. In an effort to mend the old scars created by Jordan's manipulation, she had only started to establish a relationship with her daughter. All of that was now in jeopardy. A melancholic reminder that life can change at any time. The monitors beeped softly. However, Victoria suddenly started experiencing nausea, vertigo, and disorientation. She initially dismissed it as fatigue. She hadn't slept or eaten in days after all. However, something inside Victoria revolted when Nikki demanded that she return home to rest. She was unable to abandon Claire at this time. Her body was still refusing to cooperate. The Newman family went into yet another fright when she passed out in the hallway outside Claire's room the following morning. Nate Hastings, who was in the vicinity, hurried over to her side and gave the order for a complete examination. Victoria's world fell apart when he said, "Victoria, you're pregnant," following the test results. She was unable to talk for a moment. She believed she had misheard him. "Are you expecting?" Given her age? Right now? Both literally and emotionally, it was unthinkable. Nate clarified that although the tests were conclusive, the stress of the past 2 weeks probably made her condition worse. Victoria had a pregnancy. She was initially shocked, confused, and even afraid as the reality set in. After regaining her daughter, she was about to become a mother once more in the most turbulent of situations. However, the question that followed was perhaps more shocking than her pregnancy. The father is who? One of the most complicated love tales in Genoa City was rekindled as soon as rumors started to circulate that it might be Cole Howard. Others conjectured that Victoria's bond with Nate had become stronger than she had acknowledged during those extended periods of emotional openness. The media frenzy outside Newman Enterprises erupted as the whispers got stronger. Nikki pleaded with her daughter to prioritize her health, while Victor, who was always the patriarch, insisted on knowing the truth. But Victoria was only able to concentrate on Claire. She put her palm to her stomach as she sat next to her daughter's hospital bed, caught between two intense feelings: the realization that another life was developing inside of her, and the heartbreaking fear of losing one child. It was simultaneously harsh and poetic. In a single instant, life and death danced side by side. Claire's condition changed as the days stretched into weeks. The Newman family felt waves of relief when she showed signs of hope, such as little movements or slight improvements in her vitals. However, there were also setbacks, including frightening decreases in blood pressure that caused doctors to panic. Victoria vowed to change everything about her life if Claire lived, and she prayed more fervently than she had ever prayed. This new baby, this unanticipated miracle, would represent healing rather than suffering, and she would be a better mother and person overall. Holden, meantime, came back to town clearly frightened and overcome with guilt. Fearful of what Victoria might say, he went to the hospital covertly. The tension between them was electrifying when she eventually addressed him. "Holden, you were the last one to see her," with a shaky voice Victoria yelled. "Tell me what transpired that evening." With tears in his eyes, Holden explained that although Claire had been unhappy, he never intended for her to drive off in that manner. She claimed that she needed to get her thoughts straight. He coughed out, "I thought she'd go to the park, not this." Although Holden's regret was genuine, his presence sparked more Newman turmoil. Strongly defensive, Cole insisted that he go. Nikki secretly questioned whether Holden's role was more extensive than anybody knew, while Victor demanded a thorough investigation. Victoria's health came under scrutiny amid the mayhem. Her doctors advised her to take it easy because the stress was jeopardizing her pregnancy, but how could she relax when her daughter's life was at stake? Holden's attitude toward the situation could also reshape his reputation. Right now he's an enigma, charismatic, mysterious, and dangerously appealing. But if Claire becomes pregnant, his actions will define him. Will he reveal his true colors as a manipulator? Or will he genuinely fall in love with Claire and the idea of a family? The show's writers love to blur moral lines, so it's possible Holden will occupy that gray area, loving Claire but making terrible decisions that hurt her nonetheless. The timing of all this is also significant. Just as other major storylines involving Kyle, Victoria, and Audra heat up, a pregnancy twist could intertwine every major character's arc into one explosive narrative. Genoa City thrives on secrets, and a baby conceived in Los Angeles could become the most powerful secret of all. If Holden tries to hide the pregnancy, or manipulate Claire into keeping it quiet, things could get very ugly very fast. Fans are already theorizing about how the reveal could happen. Will Claire confide in Sienna first, the same friend who warned her about Holden? Or will Kyle find out accidentally, sparking another one of those heart-stopping confrontations Y&R is known for? There's even speculation that Claire might initially mistake Kyle as the father, creating a classic soap paternity twist before the truth comes out. The emotional core of this storyline lies in the contrast between fantasy and reality. In Los Angeles, Claire lived in a fantasy, a glittering, passionate escape from her problems. But when she returns to Genoa City, reality hits hard. Pregnancy tests, family judgments, public whispers. It's a world far removed from that luxurious hotel suite. And it's in that harsh reality where we'll see who Claire truly is, and what kind of future she'll fight for. Victoria's reaction will also be fascinating to watch. She's a Newman through and through, used to power and control, but when it comes to her daughter, she's vulnerable. This situation could soften her or harden her, depending on how she handles it. She might lash out at Holden, vowing to destroy him for taking advantage of Claire. Or she might try to guide Claire gently, helping her navigate the same kind of emotional storms Victoria has weathered in her own life. Ultimately, this potential pregnancy storyline could redefine multiple characters' arcs. Claire would transition from being a victim of circumstance to a woman forced to make adult choices with lasting consequences. Holden would have to confront the mess he's made, and Kyle would either lose himself in bitterness or rise above it, proving he's matured. The Newman family, meanwhile, would be shaken once again, proving that no matter how powerful they are, their personal lives are never safe from scandal. As viewers, we can't help but be intrigued. The clues are there, the emotional build-up, the symbolic hints, the passionate Halloween night in LA. Soap operas thrive on dramatic irony, and this setup has all the makings of an unforgettable twist. Whether the baby is ultimately revealed to exist or not, the fear of pregnancy alone could drive the next wave of drama, forcing every character involved to make choices that test their hearts and loyalties. For now, the question lingers. Did that night in Los Angeles change everything? Did Holden Novak and Claire Newman create a life together without even realizing it? If so, Genoa City is about to experience a storm unlike any it's seen before. A storm born of passion, secrets, and one reckless decision that will echo for months to come. One thing is certain. If Claire is indeed pregnant, the fallout will redefine her relationship with Holden, destroy Kyle's fragile hope, and send shockwaves through the entire Newman family. In true Young and the Restless fashion, the city that never sleeps on drama is about to wake up to a brand new scandal. And it all started with a night of passion in Los Angeles. If the rumors are true and Claire Newman finds herself pregnant after her passionate night with Holden Novak in Los Angeles, then the entire foundation of her new life could crumble, or evolve into something entirely unexpected. The very idea of Claire carrying Holden's child creates a domino effect that would send shockwaves across Genoa City. It's not just about love or betrayal anymore. It's about legacy, morality, and what kind of woman Claire wants to be moving forward. In many ways, this storyline could be the defining chapter of Claire's redemption arc. She has spent months trying to prove that she's no longer the fragile, easily manipulated girl who fell under Jordan's influence. Victoria and the Newman family opened their arms to her, offering her the stability she's always longed for. But Holden came along at exactly the wrong, or perhaps the most fateful time. He reignited Claire's hunger for danger, passion, and the kind of excitement that her carefully rebuilt life couldn't provide. That night in Los Angeles was about freedom. Yet, freedom often has a cost, and Claire may soon discover she traded fleeting pleasure for lifelong responsibility. The possibility of pregnancy would also force Holden to face the depth of his connection to Claire. Their relationship wasn't built on trust, it was built on chemistry, secrecy, and a mutual desire to escape their pain. Holden presented himself as a man who understood her, who didn't judge her past or expect perfection. But can that kind of connection survive the realities of a pregnancy? Parenthood isn't glamorous, and Holden doesn't strike anyone as a man who thrives under pressure. The very thought of him becoming a father might terrify him as much as it terrifies Claire. However, there's another side to Holden. A hidden vulnerability that fans have begun to sense. Beneath the confidence and charm lies a man with demons of his own, possibly tied to Audra Charles and whatever schemes the two have been running behind the scenes. If Holden discovers that Claire is carrying his child, it could become the emotional anchor that finally pulls him out of his manipulative lifestyle. It's possible that the baby could become the reason Holden changes for the better, transforming him from a wandering opportunist into someone capable of true love and sacrifice. However, Cole Howard was caught between two fires, his grief over their shared daughter's suffering and his long-standing love for Victoria. He spent his days and nights at the hospital, frequently moving like a ghost around the corridors. Victoria was surprised by his response when she eventually told him she was pregnant. "Are you pregnant?" he repeated, his face losing color as he was astonished. With tears welling up in her eyes, Victoria nodded. "Cole, I didn't plan it. At this point in my life, I didn't even think it was conceivable, yet it's happening. And I'm not even sure how to feel anymore." As he struggled to comprehend the words, he ran a hand through his hair. "Is it mine?" At last, he asked in a scarcely audible whisper. Like fog, the query hovered in the air. Although Victoria's eyes grew wide with pain, she could see why he had asked. During the turmoil of Jordan's demise, those nights of shared suffering, sadness, and unfulfilled love, their bond had momentarily revived, but there had also been Nate. "I'm not sure," she said quietly, "and that's what scares me the most." For the first time in years, Cole saw her as the woman he had loved and lost, rather than as the furious CEO of Newman Enterprises. After a long pause, he declared, "I'm here no matter what. For you. For Claire. For this infant. We'll work things out." Although Victoria felt a brief sense of comfort after hearing that pledge, the storm still raged around them. In an attempt to clear his name, Holden had reappeared. He went to Nick in the hopes that their long-standing relationship would result in a fair trial, But the Newmans were now joined by suffering and mistrust. Nick warned Holden to keep away because he was protective of his sister. "You've caused enough harm," he remarked icily. "You are partially to blame for her laying in that bed. Regardless of what transpired that evening, you won't find forgiveness here." Holden answered, "I loved her, Nick," in a broken voice. "I still do. She was afraid of something else that night, not of me. She said that someone was pursuing her." Nick felt his spine tingle at that words. Is it possible that another vehicle was involved? Is it possible that the collision was deliberate? He made the decision to hold off on telling Victoria until he got evidence. However, as he investigated further, the evidence appeared to suggest something more sinister. Proof of Claire's brakes being tampered with, odd phone conversations made from an unlisted number just hours before the collision, and surveillance footage showing an enigmatic car rushing away from the scene. Victoria was battling her own internal conflict, as Nick pretended to be a detective. It was getting more difficult to conceal the pregnancy, and she would soon have to come clean. She feared the ensuing media frenzy, complete with headlines, rumors and inquiries regarding the father's identity. More than that, though, she feared Victor's response. A surprise pregnancy was the one thing that upset her father's well-planned world since he liked control. The explosion was unavoidable when Victor finally discovered the truth. "Victoria, another child? And you have no idea who the father is?" His voice was loud, and the terror beneath the rage was hardly noticeable. Victoria yelled, "Don't you dare judge me. This is about life, not business or control. My existence. The life of my daughter. The life of my baby. I refuse to allow you to make this a scandal involving Newman Enterprises." For a brief moment, Victor's expression softened, but his pride prevented him from fully conceding. "You are my daughter. And if I have to, I will defend you even from yourself. Then keep Claire safe," Victoria cried as she yelled. "Stop making this about you, the family's reputation, or anything else unimportant. Whether or not my daughter wakes up is the only thing that counts." Fans of the young and the restless appreciate scenes like this one, where a father and daughter battle for survival, love, and legacy. In the meantime, something remarkable was taking place back in Claire's hospital room. She was silent for over 3 weeks before responding. A flick of her fingertips. Her eyelids flickered. Victoria was present when it occurred, holding her daughter's hand and cooing quietly about the baby. The physicians described it as encouraging neurological activity. "Claire, you're going to be a big sister. Are you able to trust that? We are given another chance by life. However, I need you to return so I can view it." Kyle squinted his eyes. "Kane." "That's right," Jack remarked somberly. "And Phyllis. She will regret getting involved with this." Kane was performing his own damage control across town. When Lily first saw him at society, her face was taut with annoyance. "Kane, this is unbelievable. You claim to have locked down that system." "I did," he was adamant. "However, someone violated it. Victor Newman is now turning it into a weapon. Lily, I promise to make this right. Even if it's Phyllis, I'll track down whoever assisted him." Lily crossed her arms. Kane exercised caution. "You're experimenting with flames." He gave a sinister grin. "Well, perhaps it's time to burn them all." Phyllis unexpectedly received an encrypted message back at the Grand Phoenix. "We are aware of what you sold." Her heartbeat quickened. "You can't hide forever." It was not Victor or Kane who sent that message. There was another person observing. Someone risky. In the meantime, Sharon was sitting next to Noah's bed in the hospital, whispering to her unconscious son, "Baby, come back to me." Nick stood in the corner, his eyes red from sleep deprivation, his jaw clenched. "Please." Detective Halpern entered through the creaking door. "Mr. and Mrs. Newman, we discovered fresh security footage from the accident night," he continued, wiping his mouth. "It may alter everything." Sharon stood up tall. "What sort of video?" Halpern paused. "It depicts someone tampering with Noah's vehicle prior to the collision." Nick clenched his hands. "Who?" Halpern answered. "We're still analyzing it, but the figure looks familiar." Sharon's phone buzzed before they could press him any harder. "He's not the only one who ought to have perished that evening." A text message from an unidentified number appeared on the screen. Sharon felt her blood chill. Half expecting to see Matt Clark hiding in the shadows once more, she glanced around the room. Determined to confront her concerns, Sharon went back to the shadow room later that night. The air was heavy with silence and the pub was oddly deserted. "Matt!" she yelled out in no response. Then though she heard it, a terrifying close whisper. With her heart racing, she turned back and said, "You can't bury the past, Sharon." But nobody was there. Or was it? Victor's